Who would win, a state-of-the-art air superiority fighter designed by a country with a military budget larger than the entire GDP of Africa? For a while now, the British tech tree in War Thunder has been lacking a good high-tier premium jet. You could either buy the F4J UK and be incredibly bored whilst you bomb your way into top tier, or alternatively you could buy the Harrier GR1 and cry in a corner because that plane is bad at almost everything. Genuinely, if somebody asked me, hey, which premium should I buy to grind the British tech tree, I would have told them... So when it was announced that the British would be getting a brand new Rank 8 premium jet, I got quite excited. However, that excitement was very short-lived, as it turned out this new premium in question was another MiG-21 Biz.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Honestly, I was already imagining that the title of this video was gonna be The MiG-21 Bison is a $75 disappointment. But to my surprise, that was a completely wrong assumption. And if anything, the Bison might actually be one of the best premiums that you can currently buy in War Thunder. Now, of course, I'll go on to explain why I say that in just a moment, but first I want to talk to you about Golden Eagles. With today's video sponsor, Free GE for War Thunder, you too can earn Golden Eagles completely for free by completing simple tasks, such as filling out a survey or trying out a new game. And when you download the app through the first link in the description, make sure to use my invitation code MDK9K to receive 10 extra Golden Eagles to help you get started. To quickly get you up to speed, the MiG-21 Bison is a Rank 8 premium jet which sits at a battle rating of 11.7, and despite being Gaijin decided to place it in the British tech tree. And what's important to note is that the Bison has the exact same airframe and engine as every other MiG-21 Biz in the game. In other words, this 11.7 jet has 11.0 flight performance, which, as you can probably imagine, is an issue. While this isn't a bad airframe when it comes to maneuverability and agility, it's also nowhere near good enough to keep up with the competition. Unless the enemy you're fighting is a 5-year-old child or a console player, you'll lose virtually every 1v1 that you get into with the Bison. And just to be clear, that's not going to be by a small margin either. In a dogfight against other 11.7s, like for example the Tom Cruise jet, the Bison will get absolutely clowned on. At the same time, this thing is also relatively slow. Almost everything you come across will be able to catch you in a straight line, which means that if an enemy decides to focus you down, you won't be able to run away from them, nor will you be able to really fight back. But perhaps worst of all, just like every other MiG-21 in the game, the Bison suffers from awful energy retention. Every time you maneuver, for example when you're forced to evade an enemy missile, you'll lose a lot of your speed, and if you're not careful, you'll find yourself completely drained of energy, which is essentially a death sentence at 11.7. All of this begs the question, why does the Bison sit at 11.7 in the first place? Well, simply put, flight performance isn't everything. At high BRs, you'll rarely find yourself getting into dogfights. Instead, you'll end up getting most of your kills by slinging missiles. And this is precisely where the Bison starts to shine. Out of every MiG-21 in War Thunder, the Bison has by far the most advanced missiles and radar. On the outer pylons, you get to carry 2 R-73s, and on the inner pylons, you get to carry 2 R-27s. The latter comes in 2 different flavors. There's the IR version, the T, and there is the radar version, the R. Personally, I would recommend exclusively using the radar variant, because while the IR version is perfectly fine, the radar version just fits into the current meta a little bit better. Although the R-27s aren't necessarily the most powerful missiles in War Thunder, they are still incredibly strong at 11.7. While I wouldn't necessarily recommend using them for BVR, they can be used to great effect within medium to short range. Although really at short ranges, you're probably not going to be using the R-27, you'll instead be using the star of the show, the R-73. In case you didn't know, the R-73 is a 40G thrust vectoring IR missile that has IRCCM, and that basically means that whoever you fire this missile at is going to have to put in a lot of effort to avoid being hit. But what makes these missiles especially fun to use on the Bison is the fact that you get a helmet-mounted sight. Being able able to lock onto an enemy by simply looking at them is extremely useful, especially in a plane like this one, which has awful flight performance. Most of the time, you don't have to worry about actually outmaneuvering the enemy. As long as you can get them somewhere within the front half of your plane, you'll be able to lock onto them with your R-73 and blow them out of the sky before the dogfight really even began. So, in short, while it may seem like the Bison is just an over-tiered MiG-21 Biz, in practice it doesn't play like that at all. Instead, I would look at this jet as if it were a baby Su-27S. While it may have absolutely atrocious flight performance for its battle rating, that is more than compensated for by the amazing missiles, helmet-mounted sight, and radar that it carries. Overall, I genuinely really enjoyed playing this jet. In fact, I would argue that out of all the premiums you can currently buy in War Thunder, the Bison is by far one of the most fun ones available. So with that in mind, when somebody asks me whether or not they should buy the Bison, the answer is obviously going to be no. In my opinion, spending $75 to buy a pixel plane with which you can research the British tech tree is not a logical decision for most people watching this video. Compared to other nations like the US and USSR, there really aren't many aircraft in the UK research tree which are worthwhile. Thus, while the Bison is a perfectly good fighter, I'd still recommend you purchase a premium aircraft for another more substantial nation first. The only people to whom I can truly recommend buying this jet are those who are looking for a new premium with which they can grind through their third or fourth tech tree. With that said, whether or not you actually end up buying the Bison, please do consider using my discount code the next time you purchase something on the Gaijin store. By simply clicking the second link in the description, you'll get a 3% discount on everything on there, and I'll get a small commission from Gaijin at no extra cost to you. Anyway, that's enough of me yapping about what this plane is and isn't, and whether or not I'd recommend buying it. Now let's actually look at some gameplay. In the footage you're seeing in the background, I'm literally just cruising on the deck, and that's all that's going on. Why am I showing you this? Well, because I wanted to mention that when you play the MiG-21 Bison, your main playstyle will be staying low to the deck at all times. And the main reason for this is quite simple. Notching in the Bison just isn't fun to do. Even if you manage to avoid getting hit by the enemy missile, you end up dumping out all of your speed, which essentially makes you a sitting duck. So instead of being constantly faced with this frustration, I've exclusively been playing the Bison as a vacuum cleaner. Just stay low to the ground, abuse multipath, and you'll never have to worry about being forced to dump your energy to dodge enemy missiles. And actually, in general, I quite enjoy trying to stay below 60 meters with the MiG-21. While the airframe is far from competitive for dogfighting at this battle rating, it is still incredibly fun to use this jet to zigzag between trees and follow terrain features because of its incredibly good roll rate, nose authority, and overall small wingspan. In fact, the only thing suboptimal about staying below 60 meters with the Bison is that at sea level, with the throttle wide open, you'll rip off both your wings if you're not careful. But all you really need to do to avoid this overspeeding is simply throttle back a little bit to about 103%. That way you're still afterburning, you're still going supersonic, but you'll never end up going too fast for your airframe. Right then, that's enough yapping about multipathing and why it's fun to stay below 60 meters with the Bison. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of the more nuanced things. Earlier on in this video, I explained that the Bison has a great radar set. However, I didn't really expand on what that radar set is and what features it has, and my reason for not doing so is because, quite frankly, all of that information is completely irrelevant. Truly, there are only two things you need to know about the Bison's radar. First and foremost, if you're using the standard pulse Doppler mode, you can lock onto basically anybody within 10 kilometers. Doesn't matter if they're traveling towards you, sideways, or away from you like this F-16. That said though, this radar does come with a pretty massive caveat, which is the second thing you need to know about. The Bison's radar has an extremely small gimbal limit, meaning that you can only lock onto enemies if they're directly in front of your aircraft. This can be problematic if you're forced to go defensive after you've already launched one of your R-27Rs. Maneuvering is likely going to result in you moving outside of your radar's gimbal limit, and thus your missile will end up missing its target. That said, sometimes the IOG onboard the R-27 is just enough to hit the enemy enemy anyway, as you can see here with this F-14. Finally, one last thing I'd like to mention, or rather reiterate, is that once the Bison runs out of its missiles, it's just an over-tiered MiG-21 Biz. Thus, doing well in the Bison is determined by how well you are capable of using your missiles to their fullest potential. While you certainly can get kills by simply yeeting off your missiles at the first enemies you see, I don't actually recommend doing so. Spend some time trying to understand under which circumstances you can launch your R-27 or R-73s and get almost a guaranteed kill. I believe that only once you have that knowledge, you'll start to truly enjoy this jet. TLDR, while it may seem like the Bison is just an over-tiered MiG-21 Biz, in reality it plays more like a baby flanker. While this plane's flight performance is absolutely atrocious for dogfighting, especially compared to other jets around 11.7, it is still an incredibly fun jet to fly due to its extremely powerful missiles paired with the HMS and great radar. However, before you run out there and spend $75 to buy this jet, I think it's important to remind you that it's not a smart idea to pick the British as your first tech tree to grind through. Instead, focus on something like the US and USSR first, and only once you've completed those nations, I'd consider buying the MiG-21 Bison. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe, join my Discord server, and if you enjoyed this video, then maybe also consider watching the one that's currently shown to you on screen. It's kind of the same thing, a little bit different, but I think you will also like that one as well.